breaking news coming in. The Twitter has approached Karnataka High Court challenging the takedown orders issued by the central government to the social media company under the new IT rules. The centre, remember, had recently granted one last opportunity to Twitter to comply with the takedown order under Section 69A of the Information Technology Act. In a notice sent by the centre last week, Twitter was warned that they had failed to comply with two takedown orders issued by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology on 6th of June and 9th of June respectively. The centre further said if Twitter continued to be in violation, then they may lose their protection as an intermediary under the new IT rules. Nalini is now joining us live for the very latest. Nalini, explain this entire judicial review and what is happening at the moment. Twitter versus Modi government part 2.
Well, Jayati, part 2 is right because this is almost the second or the third round of litigation that we are seeing over the new IT rules that has been initiated this time by the social media giant before the Karnataka High Court. Initially, what had happened was that in June, there were two takedown notices or orders that were issued by the IT ministry to Twitter asking them to take action against certain accounts that were spreading some misinformation on the social media side. And Twitter, because they had failed to act on these accounts, is why they were given a final warning on behalf of the centre to take some action, or else they will end up losing their intermediary status under the new IT rules. Losing intermediary status under the new IT rules would mean that Twitter, the company, would then directly become responsible for any content that is shared on its platform, even by individual users. So that is essentially why they have now approached the Karnataka High Court, that is challenging these takedown orders that were issued by the centre to Twitter and seeking judicial intervention in this entire matter. This happens, Chetty, even though sources suggest to us that Twitter for now has complied with the orders already, because like I told you, the centre had issued a last warning to them that if by the 4th of July, which was yesterday, they don't comply with the orders, then they will lose their intermediary status. So even though sources suggest that they
what were the nature of the accounts that the central government asked Twitter to take down content off? What was the nature of these accounts? When you say misinformation, what kind of misinformation was this?
Well, Chetty, as we know, the central government and more particularly the IT ministry, through the new IT rules, has been constantly working towards combating misinformation on social media sites. We have seen them regularly issue directions not only to Twitter but also other social media websites, trying to ensure that any content that spreads misinformation, is in the area of fake news, all of that is pulled down as early as possible so that it can curb the misinformation rage that has occurred throughout the country in the past recent few years. So there have been constant steps that have been taken from the centre side, specifically the IT ministry, to curb this entire aspect. It was in relation to that they had issued these notices to Twitter. There was a list of accounts that was mentioned in these orders. We're still getting the specific details of these orders that have been challenged before the Karnataka High Court, but we are given to understand that there were two separate orders, one issued on the 6th of June and another issued on the 9th of June, giving a list of accounts against whom action needs to be taken. And by action, they mean that these accounts need to be pulled down because they were indulging in spreading misinformation on the social media side. So in reference to that, Twitter has been asked to ensure that these accounts were being taken down, and like I told you, we are given to understand that Twitter is in compliance with these orders, which means that they have taken an action against these accounts, but at the same time they are also exercising their legal remedies by challenging this order before the Karnataka High Court, asking for judicial intervention in the matter and trying to get favourable orders in their favour.